Three watches, one company, three completely different prices. Garmin will tell you in the exact same language that all three of them do the one thing you actually bought a running watch for: track your pace and your heart rate accurately, no matter where you're running. Same promise, same brand, a $750 gap in what you pay for it. That's not a story about three manufacturers competing for your money. That's one company drawing a line inside its own lineup on purpose. And somewhere in that line is the actual point where the upgrade stops being about your running and starts being about everything else. We put all three on our wrist, ran the same routes back to back in the same weather, and found exactly where Garmin's own price gap stops meaning anything at all. You know that feeling mid-run when you glance down at your wrist without meaning to, and something in your gut goes, is that number even real? Maybe it's a pace that feels too fast for how your legs feel, or too slow for how hard you're breathing, and you shrugged it off because what else are you supposed to do mid-stride? That doubt isn't really about the watch. It's about whether you can trust the thing on your arm enough to stop thinking about it and just run. That question is why we bought three watches from the same company instead of trusting their marketing page, and it doesn't get fully answered until the very end of this video. Start at the bottom at $249 with the Forerunner 55, Garmin's actual entry point, the watch people quietly assume they'll outgrow in a few months. Built in a way that almost makes you feel like you're settling before you've even pressed start on your first run with it. It's been Garmin's baseline model for years now, the one they keep selling because it still does the basics honestly. On an open route, wide sky above you, nothing between you and the satellites, it's genuinely honest. Splits track close to real. Heart rate holds steady through a tempo run without doing anything strange. Almost 20 hours of GPS battery on a single charge, more than enough for anything short of an ultramarathon. For a plain loop with nothing overhead, this watch does exactly what it says on the box, and there's genuinely no reason to feel bad about owning it. But look at what Garmin actually left out of it. No multiband GPS. That's not a footnote buried on page 3 of a spec sheet nobody reads. That's the real physical difference between a watch that can tell a true satellite signal from one that bounced off a building or a tree branch, and a watch that's simply guessing and hoping the guess lands close enough to be useful. Anywhere the sky isn't wide open, tree cover on your usual trail, a downtown block, a bridge underpass you cross every single time without thinking about it, this watch starts making things up, quietly, without ever telling you it's doing it. It just hands you a number and lets you believe it. And here's the honest flaw nobody mentions in the reviews. The heart rate sensor on this one is a generation behind the other two, so during hard intervals it smooths your effort instead of tracking it in real time. It's not a bad watch, it's just an honest one about what it isn't. Hold on to that thought, because it's about to become the entire point of this video. Quick thing before we keep going. If you've ever bought the starter version of anything and quietly wondered a few months later whether you'd already outgrown it and wasted the money on the wrong tier, tell me in the comments, because I think a lot of you are sitting on this exact decision right now without even realizing it's the same trap other people fell into first. And if you're the kind of runner who's going to be shopping for gear more than once this year, hit subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. Takes 2 seconds, and it means you're not stuck relying on a spec sheet next time either. Alright, back to it. Here's what I'm not answering yet. Does Garmin's real accuracy jump happen at $500? Or is the true ceiling actually up at $1,000 and the $500 watch is just a nicer stepping stone on the way to the real thing? Keep that open, because the answer isn't what the price tags are trying to tell you, and it's the entire reason this video exists in the first place. $500 gets you the Forerunner 265. And here's where Garmin's own hardware actually changes underneath you, not just the screen or the strap or the color options. Multiband GPS. Take it under that same tree line that made the $250 watch stumble, and the track on the map holds its shape instead of drifting sideways into someone's front yard on the file you'll look at later that night. The heart rate sensor keeps pace with intervals too, catching your pulse jumping every 30 seconds, instead of smoothing it into one lazy, forgiving average that hides exactly how hard you were actually working out there. This is the first watch in Garmin's own lineup that earns the word accurate without an asterisk quietly attached to it somewhere in the fine print. It's not perfect. Turn on that better GPS mode and you're looking at roughly 16 hours before it needs a charger, which sounds like plenty until you're deep into marathon training stacking long runs on back-to-back weekends. If you forget to charge things overnight more than once a week, that's a real cost. But on the one job we actually care about, the only one that matters when you're the one out there running, this is the point where Garmin stopped asking you to take its word for it and started proving it. Now here's the moment this test was actually built around. You get home, plug in the run, and stare at the graph. A strange spike in heart rate at a moment you don't remember pushing hard, or a flat gap in the pace line where a quarter mile just seems to vanish, and you genuinely can't tell if that's your body doing something odd or your watch lying to you. You start second-guessing your own training based on a number you're not even sure you can trust. That specific doubt, scrolling back through the same 3 miles trying to figure out where it went wrong, is what separates a watch you trust completely from one you just put up with. It's a small moment, but it quietly decides whether you look forward to checking your data or start dreading it. So we ran all 3 on the same stretch. Heavy tree cover for the first mile, then a block of tall buildings, then open road home. A route built to expose a watch, not flatter it. The $250 watch drifted hard through the trees. Not a small wobble, enough that it would have handed you a mile split that was flat out wrong, the kind of wrong that quietly wrecks a training block over weeks and you'd never know why your paces looked off. The $500 watch held its line almost perfectly on that same stretch, tree cover, buildings and all. And here's the fact, this whole video has been circling since the very first sentence. The $1,000 Fenix 8 ran that identical route with the same multiband GPS chip inside it as the $500 watch sitting right next to it. Same positioning hardware, same signal locking technology. Garmin put the exact same accuracy engine into both of them, one costing twice as much as the other. Side by side, their tracks were almost impossible to tell apart on the map afterward, because underneath all that titanium and sapphire glass and the extra few $100s, the actual thing deciding whether your pace is real is shared between them completely. Let me say that again because it's the one thing worth remembering out of this entire video. Garmin's $500 watch and Garmin's $1,000 watch are reading your run through the exact same core GPS technology. Not similar, not close. The same company, using the same accuracy engine, twice, sold to you at 2 very different prices as if they were 2 different things. So what is Garmin actually charging you an extra $500 for, if it isn't for a more accurate run? Real things, a titanium bezel that shrugs off a fall onto pavement, a battery that stretches past a month instead of the 13 days you get on the watch half its price, GPS battery pushing towards 60 hours in its best mode instead of 16, offline maps that route you home from a trail you've never run, a built-in flashlight for the mornings you leave before the sun's up. Here's the honest flaw that comes with it. At 51 millimeters across, it's genuinely heavy, flopping around on your wrist during an easy recovery run, the kind where you don't want to feel your gear at all. If you disappear into the mountains for entire weekends, that battery is worth something real. But none of it touches your pace on a plain Tuesday loop. None of it makes your heart rate reading more honest than the watch sitting on the shelf for half the price. Garmin isn't selling you a better run at that price. It's selling you a better piece of equipment wrapped around technology it already sold you at $500. That's the real line inside Garmin's own lineup, the one they'll never draw for you themselves. Not at $1,000, at $500. You're standing in the running store turning the box over in your hands, or you've got 3 tabs open at midnight trying to figure out if that extra few $100s from the same company is really about performance or just a nicer looking watch face on your wrist. And now you actually have an answer instead of a guess pulled from a forum post. If all you need is a watch that won't quietly lie to you on your regular route, $250 gets you close, as long as your runs stay under open sky most of the time. The second your route has trees or buildings anywhere in it, $500 closes that gap completely, using the exact same accuracy engine as the watch costing twice as much sitting in the case above it. $1,000 buys you better gear, better durability, a longer leash before the next charge. It does not buy you a better runner, no matter how good the display looks when you glance down at it mid-stride. Say this back to yourself next time you're staring at Garmin's own price list. The real line isn't at $1,000. It's at $500. Everything past that is paying for comfort, not competence. The line is at $500, and once you actually know that, once you've actually seen the proof, instead of just reading a promise on a box, you stop shopping by tier and start shopping for exactly what your own runs actually need from a watch. Tell me in the comments which one of these 3 you're actually running right now today, and whether it's held up on the routes that really test a watch. The tree cover, the downtown blocks, the underpasses, the ones a cheap watch can't hide from no matter how good the marketing copy sounds on the box. And stick around, because the next test is the one nobody ever bothers to run, what all 3 of these Garmins actually look like after a full year of real mileage, real sweat, and real crashes on real pavement. The wear test, no spec sheet will ever show you before you buy.